Toku Secrets is a podcast run by the Anime Secrets website. Check us out at animesecrets.org for more anime, video game, tokusatsu content. Remember to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts today.
Oh, yes! This is Goldar, and you're listening to Toku Secrets Podcast. Don't tune us out, tune us in!
Welcome to Toku Secrets. Join us as we journey into the marvelous world of Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, Power Rangers, and many other tokusatsu. Get ready for the adventure of a lifetime. It's Morphin time! Link to the Morphin Course. I'm Nathan Desai, the dazzling adventurer, Boken Silver.
I'm Patrick Allen, I'm Shinken Red.
And I'm Rizwan Merchant, Gokai Red.
And I'm Anthony Davis, also known as Curie Green. And we're Toku Secrets.
Okay, welcome everyone to another Toku Secrets podcast hosted by animesecrets.org. I'm Rizwan. We got Nate, Patrick, and Anthony on tonight. And we're doing a special segment of the podcast tonight to talk about some very big changes that have been happening in the tokusatsu community as a whole over the last, give or take, almost month now. So, as many of you probably already know, Super Sentai has been rumored to be ending since the end of October, and there's been all kind of rumors flying around on what's going to happen, where we're going, and all that good stuff. I am sorry to say that we do have official confirmation on the end of Super Sentai on TV Asahi, which is the channel that Super Sentai has been airing on for the last 50 years. So that is a confirmed fact. And this has been, kind of in the media and stuff for the last couple of weeks now. This originally broke out on October 30th with this article from Kyoto News in Japan, which is one of the big publications out in Japan. I'm sure, Nate, if you want to kind of talk more about that, you can, because I think you might know more given your wife on the media publications and all.
I mean, I've heard some about it. But she has told me in the past, like, I guess just to kind of give the basics. I mean, I remember when this news first broke, and my wife saw it on different Japanese news apps that she follows. And when I was kind of when I was kind of going through like my denial thing, like my wife was telling me like, well, baby, I mean, it's from Kyoto. Kyoto's not some irrelevant news site, so there has to be some legitimacy to it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And so, yeah, Kyoto is a very well-known source. I've been reading up on them a lot lately.
Yeah.
Kyoto, Oricon, they've all been reporting the same thing since October's end. But I wanted to pull up the original Kyoto article that started it all off, because that is the most factual-based thing, because all the other articles that come after, up until this past week, are based on this one article. So this is the Kyoto article on screen. It's titled Super Sentai to the End of Broadcasting Telisa, which Telisa is the streaming service for TV Asahi. I didn't know that until earlier, but that's a cool thing that they have that. Curtain on half a century of history. So we have the Gozuzer photo on the building here. It's the TV Asahi headquarters. And the article reads, on the 30th, it was revealed by interviews with related parties that the special effects hero program, Super Sentai series broadcasted on TV Asahi, will end the last of the current #1 Sentai Gozuzer. Quick note on the translation here, because I want to be very accurate when we're looking at Japanese translations. I have translated this again through various things, but the one we're looking at and reading through today is from the built-in Firefox translator, because I am remote for the Thanksgiving week, and I don't have a computer that can run a bunch of Chrome tabs while I'm podcasting, so we're using this for tonight. Just FYI, there might be a couple of things that are a little bit more but the message will be the same regardless. The popular series, which has been loved for generations since the first work, Secret Squadron Go Ranger, which is better known as Himetsu Sentai Go Ranger in our world, started in 1975, brings down the curtain on the history of half a century.
Yeah.
According to the people involved, the reason behind the end of the broadcast is that the income earned from the events, related goods, movies, etc., is not commensurate with the cost of program production. Now, to add in my 2 cents on that, and y'all can also chime in if y'all have other insight, but in addition to that, we've also seen a lot of articles come out talking about Japan's currently in a bit of a crisis when it comes to birth rate.
Yeah.
So there's not as many kids being born in Japan right now. So it's a bit of a national crisis for them. Like, hey, we're not producing enough children to continue our country. And as a result of this crisis in the country, there's not as many, small children that are going to be interested in buying the toys.
Mhm.
As much as we may not like it, Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, and all those other tokusatsu that we know and love are essentially here to sell toys. It's not about the TV show as much as it is about selling the toys. At least when you're talking like the Toei at the high level.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. But
I mean, I think that's part of it, but then you also have to consider the fact that, I mean, even though Super Sentai hasn't been doing well, on the flip side, Kamen Rider has been killing it. Like, Kamen Rider is doing very well in the ratings and their toy sales. Like, I mean, okay, I don't know. I haven't looked at the official numbers, so I can't tell you how it's like competing with some of the other really famous toy selling IPs like One Piece or the Dragon Ball franchise, etc. But I feel like a huge problem with Sentai is just kind of the fact that while Kamen Rider has kind of been trying to evolve with its formula and been trying to like add different things and do different stuff with the franchise, Sentai for the most part has been kind of stagnant.
yeah,
It hasn't really adapted with the times or really tried to change the formula or anything. Like, I feel like it's just become kind of a tired brand at this point where it's been around for 50 years. You're getting the same old like henshin devices, the same old giant robots, the same old weapons and everything. Whilst with Kamen Rider, they try to do stuff. They're trying to do some stuff differently, and I don't know most of the details, but for the most part, I think you can kind of say that Kamen Rider has really tried to adapt, while Super Sentai hasn't done it as much.
yeah, definitely. Um, and so, kind of just to add on to the Kamen Rider piece, because that is a really big part of why I think this is not as big of a deal as people are making it out to be.
Hmm.
Kamen Rider went through 2 hiatuses
Yep.
in the history. The first one started in 1975, which coincidentally is when Go Ranger came out, and that ended in 1979. So that's basically after Kamen Rider Stronger in 1975, and then it came back in 79 for Sky Rider. So, that was a couple of years hiatus just to, I guess, allow it to have a breathing room. But then there was a second, more major hiatus from 1989 to 2000.
Yeah,
And
it
so,
was. Yeah, it was pretty much with the end of the show era came the end of the original Kamen Rider era.
yeah, and just real quick to give context, that ended with Kamen Rider Black RX with our good friend Mr. Karada Tetsuya.
Hmm.
Um, and it came back in 2000 with Kamen Rider Kuga.
Yep.
And it's, often called the Heisei rebirth of Kamen Rider,
Yeah.
given that's when it came out. Now, there's some other minor gaps here and there, but these are the two big ones that Kamen Rider had. But in comparison, Sentai has been running strong from 1975 until 2026, effectively, because Gojira will end in 2026.
Now, if you want to be technical about it, there was a slight 1 year hiatus because Jack was can't. This was back when the show was actually originally just called Sentai, not Super Sentai.
Yeah.
Jika was canceled because it had very low ratings, and Then after they canceled Drinka, they had the 1 year where they did the Spider-Man series, and then the year after that, in 1979, that's when they did Battle Fever J, and ever since Battle Fever J, that's how long Sentai has been on the air.
Yeah, and it's interesting that the years line up the way they do. Kamen Rider went on the first hiatus in 75, and that's when Sentai began. And Sentai had that minor hiatus you're talking about and came back in 79 when Kamen Rider came back as well.
Yeah.
I can't ignore that little coincidence there. I think that's really interesting just from a historical standpoint. Anyway, I don't think there's a whole lot else in this article to really kind of go over. I think these are just like, where we are. So I guess we can pause here for a few minutes and just let this open up for conversation on what we think of everything that is going on. What does it mean to you that Super Sentai is ending?
I mean, I think given the shenanigans going on with Power Rangers right now, there's some kind of twisted irony in it.
Yeah.
Because we don't know when or if Power Rangers is going to come back, and if it does, what it's going to look like. And so everybody was sitting here thinking, well, at least we have Super Sentai to hold us over. Well, now we don't have that either.
Yeah.
Well,
it's like we lost both of them essentially one right after the other with no time to breathe in between, and it's really off-putting.
yeah, and I mean to kind of talk more into Power Ranger and real quick. There are two things that were in the pipeline during 2025. One was the Ninja Kids adaptation on YouTube, but we all know where that's kind of been the last couple of weeks, given the AI controversy and just the back and forth between Hasbro and Ninja Kids and all that drama. But there were confirmed articles about a Disney Plus reboot taking place in the UK that will have filming begin next year. So Power Rangers will probably be back in some form next year or the year after. So, it's I say it's a confirmed thing, but that just means that they've committed to do filming now, but I don't consider it a done deal until it's actually airing on Disney Plus properly.
Yeah.
But there is some hope there in terms of what can be in terms of Power Rangers. With Super Sentai, we have some inkling as well of what's going to happen there, but I do want to let Nate and Anthony also kind of chime in a bit more on, what they think of this and what does it mean to them.
I mean, well, to start, I mean, I remember when I first read that report, like I remember the exact time I had come into work super early. It was one of those days where I had to go in at 4 a.m. and it was 8 in the morning and I had just finished doing what I was doing. So I was going to take what's even though it's technically this time, it was basically my lunchtime. And I got on Reddit to just look up some stuff while I was on my lunch break, and there was a post in the Super Sentai subreddit just saying Super Sentai to end. And I just remember like it's like I just remember like it felt like my shirt was sinking all the way down to my feet. Like that's how much of like a bomb it felt. And I was kind of sad about it at first, but honestly, especially with how I've been watching some of the more recent Sentai to come out, like I ultimately think that this is kind of for the best because with the exception of King Oger and Boom Boomer, I think that both of those Sentais were very good. But I think that those two are kind of ultimately like a two back-to-back blips on the radar because like the last Sentai that I remember watching in terms of like, the order in which they came out, like Q Ranger was the last one that I found myself being super into because Blue Cat was always just kind of missing something for me. Ryu Soldier just seemed like completely soulless, just like a typical standard Sentai. I liked Kira Major, um, but I feel like it could have had a bit more story to it. And I cut it a little bit of credit because, it was going on during the pandemic. So that kind of sucked. And I'm looking what I see from Zenkaiger now, and I haven't seen Dawn Brothers yet. But when I couple that along with how I'm looking at what Go Juger is doing, it really does feel like Super Sentai is just kind of tired. Like
Yeah.
it really feels like it's been going on for 50 years, and and to the point where, I mean, now we don't know if this is just going to be a short break and they try to bring it back later. And I hope that that's the case because I could see it making a big, strong comeback if it were to go on hiatus for a couple of years. But even if this is it just kind of going into full, straight up retirement, I mean, the only thing that I think that sucks is that I wish they would have done it with Boom Boomter, just because that would have been a much stronger Sentai to kind of wrap up on. Because honestly, the one thing that I'm saying about is the fact that it takes to wrap up with Go Juger, because it's like Go Juger has not really been that great. And now, wouldn't you know, Go Juger has its own little internal controversy that's kind of, that's kind of just casting a dark cloud over what's already kind of a mess, Sentai. It
Hmm.
it rubs me the wrong way that Super Sentai is gonna go out like this. So that's probably the thing that makes me feel sad. I I'm I feel like it's for the best for it to take a little bit of a break, but man, couldn't you have just done that a year earlier so we didn't have to deal with all this Go Juder stuff?
I have something to add on to that, but I'm gonna let Anthony go for before me if he wants to add anything on.
Well, as someone who like has literally been watching Sentai since I think 2009, yeah, it's it's kind of a bummer, honestly. It really is. It's like, dang, I've been like watching this after I assumed that RPM was gonna be the last Power Rangers season. Boy, was I wrong. I was like,
Yeah,
oh, I get to watch this
Yeah.
and watch, this other thing instead. And now it's coming to an end. It's like, oh,
yeah. Um, to go back to Nate's point though on why could we have ended on Boom Boonzer and why it was Go Zuzer. I think I kind of hit on this a little bit in the Maya podcast we did a couple of weeks ago prior to Orlando, but I do want to iterate and give more of a emphasis to it here. Uh, Toei had this planned for quite some time
Yeah.
that they were going to do this. This is not something they did haphazardly in the last like 6 months or a year. They've had this plan for a while, and the reason I know that is they they skipped 49 to go to 50
Yep.
to call this the anniversary season. Technically, this is the 49th installation of Sentai, but because they had to loop hat Sentai, and they're like, oh hey, loop hat is this one. Oh no, sorry, Lupin is this one, Pattern is that one.
Yeah.
So they found a loophole to give them a way to get to 50. So they were clever in how they framed this from the beginning that, hey, they were going to end it. And I mean, the tagline in the beginning of Go Zuzer episode 0, for those of you guys that do remember that, they do say Super Sentai is ending. So we've known for a bit. We just didn't understand what it meant.
I didn't catch that at first. I was like, oh,
Yeah, no, it was in the episode 0. They had like a little thing that said, this is the end of Super Sentai. But we
Yeah.
all thought that meant like, oh, does the universe heroes battle?
yeah,
They're going to have a whole thing and battling Tegasord or whatever. That's going to be like the end of Super Sentai because ha ha ha, you got to fight the villain and the villain can win, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I
But,
assumed it would
but
have.
we didn't realize that this is like an end. Not really like the end because I think it'll come back at some point. But I definitely think like we've had foreshadowing for a while and we just didn't catch on to it in the right way.
Right.
Yeah. I feel like that might also just kind of relate to the fact that there were a lot of people kind of doomering, like I think as far back as Tokuger, because I remember when Tokuger was coming out, some people, myself included, were really afraid that Sentai was going to get canceled after Tokuger, just because Kyoryuger had posted the lowest ratings Sentai had ever seen. Now, granted, I didn't know at the time that they were more dependent on toy sales, and Kyoryuger had Kyoryuger had like one of the highest toy sales that Sentai had ever seen, and Tokuger did similarly good. And then after that, I think a lot of people just kind of got comfortable with it. Now there was this one guy who once posted a video saying that like Sentai was like in a really big hole and Ryu Soldier was the last Sentai where they had a chance, and if Ryu Soldier didn't do well, then Sentai was gonna get canceled. But then we got Kira Major, and then I feel like everybody just kind of got a false sense of like complacency with like, well, I mean, everybody's been saying Super Sentai is going to end like the last like 10 to 15 years. So
Well,
yeah, I
they
mean, it's
didn't.
not going to happen.
So I definitely remember the thing during the Tokyo. They're like, oh yeah, it's gonna end here. They had the same kind of thing happen with Zeodes because they're like, these toys are not selling well. Nobody's liking the cube concept. Um, and then again, when Zen Kaiser came out, that was around the time that we're like, Saban's given to Hasbro. Hasbro's not really certain what they're going to do with it. So
Mhm.
there's been a lot of like uncertainty in the market because Hasbro pulling out did diminish some of the Toei residuals that they were getting
Yeah.
by having a contract. Which there'll probably be another podcast at some point just talking through all those contractual things between Toei and Saban and Disney and Hasbro and how that all kind of looks legally. I've done a little bit of digging into that as well, to kind of pull together what does that really look like and what does that mean.
So the thing about Common Rider is that after it came back after Kuga, it was doing okay with its toy sales. Like it was never doing so much that it was being threatened. And of course, when the franchise has been on for a decade, it's not just going to come back and immediately start selling toys. But it was always kind of getting its butt kicked by Super Sentai, and they tried different gimmicks, like with cards. There were like three different card themes and Common Rider seasons then. And then we had Common Rider Double, and Common Rider Double kind of introduced a different type of gimmick where they were using these things that were basically like USB drives into the driver, and Double just kind of exploded with its toy sales with that gimmick and just with different types of concepts. And then wouldn't you know it, that Double is kind of the point where Common Rider really started to kind of overtake Sentai in terms of popularity. And I feel like Sentai had been looking for not necessarily a show that would help it overtake Kamen Rider again, but at least a show where the toy sales would explode enough to where Sentai would get it back. And that's why they went through all these experimental phases. And unfortunately, they just never got to that point. I do know that Don Brothers through Boom Boom Drew did okay with toy sales, but they didn't have like those big, like they didn't see the massive boom that they were kind of looking for. Pun intended. Boom Boom Drew,
Yeah,
but
because
yeah.
I read something from someone that said that Sentai cost more to produce and was making less in revenue than Kamen Rider. So if that's the case and Sentai really was a money loss, a money pit for them, I can see why they'd be willing to pivot.
Well, I mean, think about it. Common Rider typically has like one main writer, maybe
hmm
two supporting cast members, but they're not like main billing. And then you got the villain, you got like the rival writer at most. So you have a
Mhm.
smaller cast to deal with. But then on Sentai, you got five main people on the billing
The mech
throughout.
suits.
Then you got mech suits. You got the Sixth Ranger. You maybe have two Sixth Rangers, depending on like stuff like Goans. There was a thing.
Yeah.
So you have to account for paying your cast. With another thing we're going to talk about at some point in the future in another podcast is how that looks, but that's not today. So yeah, there's just a lot of things that when you're trying to make a Sentai season, there's a lot of cost involved with it, which is why the Power Ranger money coming in from Hasbro, Saban, whatever, helped because they were paying a good amount of money to Toei for the rights, and that offsets some of the costs to make Super Sentai because they're like, hey, if we have the Ranger money coming in, we can use some of that to keep making our Sentai and then sell it to the silly Americans to keep making their weird Power Ranger things.
Yeah.
So without that income, I think they've been floundering a lot more.
Well, it's also just a matter because this was something I was really surprised to learn. when my wife and I first got together. Like she told me that like Kamen Rider and Ultraman are both like really big shows in Japan. Like they're the type of IPs where they maybe this is a bit of an exaggeration, but in the case of Kamen Rider, it's achieved like a level of iconography in Japanese culture, probably not quite at the level of stuff like Godzilla or One Piece or Dragon Ball, but pretty dang close. Like I remember when my wife and I went to this one Japanese bookstore when we were in New York for vacation, and I must have seen like a million like magazines and books all about Kamen Rider, and I could probably count the number of things I saw on Super Sentai on one hand. And then at the Tokyo airport, there's an entire store I'm talking like a Disney store level thing like you see at the mall, except it's all about Kamen Rider. Like it's a Kamen Rider store. There's nothing like that for Super Sentai. I just feel like Super Sentai has always been bigger known in the West, just kind of ironically, because of Power Rangers. I just
Yeah.
don't think that Super Sentai ever really like. And granted, I feel like it was important because I mean it was all over Japanese news that Super Sentai was getting canceled, but I still don't think that it ever achieved the level of like well known of like iconography that Kamen Rider did.
And I'm going to take a guess as to why that is, just after watching so many Super Sentai and getting my feet wet with Zets and having seen some snippets from a couple of other seasons that came before it, that Sentai is the most, I guess, child-friendly of the big three,
Yep.
with Kamen Rider and Ultraman being the other two.
Yeah.
And Rider and Ultraman being more adult oriented might make it appeal to a wider audience because it still has the cool, gadgets and fight scenes that the kids would like, but the tone and writing might be more deep where it resonates with the older audiences. Well, Sentai seems to be a little bit more simplistic sometimes.
Yeah.
And that might hurt it because Sentai would be more limited to just the young kids, while Rider and Ultraman are targeting everybody.
Yeah, and I mean,
go ahead, Riz.
I was going to add on to Patrick's point. I watched a little bit of Gav last season, Kamen Rider Gav, and it was surprisingly dark for the first 3 episodes that I watched of it. I liked it a lot, actually, but I just didn't have time to keep up with it, along with the Boom Boonzer and other things going on. But no, I mean, Kamen Rider, at least with these 2 seasons I'm seeing right now with Gav and Zest, there's a lot more maturity to it. And talking to my friend Nathan Martzand about it as well, Ultraman is very mature and it's a lot more adult friendly in terms of like the mature themes and stuff, whereas Sentai has been a bit more child friendly. And it's kind of, I hate to say it, but a lot of the times when I complain in some of the Sentais about like my fatigue, it's because I feel fatigue a little bit from like the simplistic nature of stuff. It's a very predictable kind of archetype after a while. And so they kind of wrote themselves into a place where either they got comfortable with the formula or they couldn't write themselves out into a better formula because of just the reputation and the need for something that appeals to more children and not.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's stupid because it seemed like in Sentai's early years, and I'm talking about like maybe Go Ranger, even through the 90s, they weren't afraid to be more adult oriented with Super Sentai.
Well,
like looking at seasons even like that we've done for this podcast, like Gingaman and Time Ranger, there was a lot of like moral and psychological depth to those seasons that the newer seasons don't really have.
Well, I think I'd make the argument that kind of carried through Go Onzer, Senkenzer.
Yeah.
Even Tokuitsu had some of it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I know you haven't seen it, Pat, but
yeah,
Tokuitsu had a certain level of maturity, but then Ninja came out. that was a train wreck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ziozer was decent. I mean, it's not like the most emotionally deep thing ever. I haven't seen a lot of Loop Hat beyond like maybe 2-3 episodes at the start. But that didn't seem very complex. But I also don't know too much about it,
Yeah.
and I haven't
Yeah.
really seen too much after aside from what we podcasted about.
Yeah. Honestly, like, yeah, Riz, I think you have a good point that I feel like Me Ninja was the first, like, was kind of the first, like, big blow that I don't think Sentai ever really recovered from. I mean, we
It's
had some
that
good
damn
Sentai.
lawnmower, guys. I'm
Yeah,
Yeah.
telling you.
we had some good Sentais after that, but I don't think they ever, with the exception of King Oger, and I think Boom Boomger also kind of hit deep very well too. But I
Boom
feel like,
Boomzer actually had more emotional depth than King Oger, in my opinion.
yeah,
With the Bundario plot line with
Mhm.
but
Taya.
I feel like those two Sentais did kind of give us a little bit of hope. Like that's when it's like you're on a bit of a dive, and then you're kind of making that move where like, okay, maybe we're starting to gain up a little bit, and maybe we're gonna get back there. But then Go Juicer is all like, "Nope,"
Yeah.
and you're
So
back to the nosedive.
and I'm going to use Go-Onger as a point for this, Nate, because you've seen everything except for Zenkaiger and Dawn Brothers now. But you say I think
Yeah.
you're pretty into Zenkaiger, but Go-Onger is labeled by most people as a lighthearted, goofier Sentai, and in some regards, we kind of agree with that. But has any of the more recent goofier seasons kind of had those harder moments that Go-Onger had near the end?
I mean, I think Rhea Soldier didn't have a single like big emotional moment.
No,
I
it did
feel
not.
like I'm gonna have to see Rivs and Kaiser to see how it goes, although they do have a foundation to have some emotional moments. And again, I haven't seen Dawn Brothers yet, so I can't comment
I
on that. But
I want to make an argument based off an old memory from Ziozer, but I think Ziozer had some good emotional moments with the world.
yeah,
So I think there was some semblance of it there. Like obviously it wasn't as profound in my opinion as something like Go Onzer, but there was a lot of emotional s- substance
Mhm.
with it.
yeah, but I feel
Um,
like they ruined that by making him more of a comic relief character
I
here
agree. I
later
do
on
agree
with
with that. That's why I
that.
kind of say that there's some of it, but not what we would expect.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that was kind of like the thing I was thinking is we were talking about pre-Go Kaiser, and I want to bring up Go Kaiser again later because it's been something that I've said off and on ever since Go Kaiser ended that I think that season might have ruined the show after the fact because of how enormously popular it was.
yeah,
I
But it feels like when after the Go Kaiser era seasons, when they try to do goofy seasons, they don't want to put anything emotional in it. And that's one of the things that made Go Kaiser so charming.
yeah.
And it seems like outside of King Oger, maybe they they're too afraid of getting too, I guess, dark. And I remember when King Oger was ending, the Japanese media was actually really hyped on the ending.
Yeah, no, it was.
Yeah, and
Um,
it's like, well, King Oger was probably one of the more experimental Sentais we've gotten recently with its tone and its approach. It wasn't on Earth. They were all royalty. They weren't like regular people or like animal people or whatever. And it worked. Why didn't they just do that again?
Right.
so here's my theory on what I'm seeing here. So give or take, I think we lost the Ranger funds to Toei around Ryu Soldier, maybe a little bit into Zenkaiser. So I think Toei knew that there wasn't going to be anything after Dino Fury that they would have on contract to continue providing Sentai footage to the Americans.
So they went in on
So
King Oger.
so they went nuts with concepts like this is the first season with like 4 mech rangers. The
Yeah.
season after had the first CGI ranger, and then King Ozer, I mean, that's a crazy good season. So I think Toei started trying to redefine itself and give it a new way of doing things. But I think at that point, it might have been too little too late. Like, you could have had, like, a string of great seasons. Like, I think, in my opinion, again, and I have not finished Zenkaiser, I have not finished Dawn Brothers, but from what I know of people that love those seasons, those are beloved. King Ozer is beloved. Boom Boozer's beloved. So they were making their stride, but I think there's still too much damage done in the ratings prior and the stigma in Japan on Super Sentai. And remember, again, I've said this before several times. The Japanese companies, Toei and all of them, do not care about what we think as the American or Western audience about Sentai. We're not the audience because, again, we're not seeing anything Super Sentai related through an official sanctioned approach. We're all just getting screen recordings off of TV Asahi, and then we're getting somebody to fan sub it and give it to us, and we're watching it and podcasting about it and all that stuff. So we're not the audience here. And so if the audience in Japan has a stigma of, okay, well, Super Sentai is childish because look at Ninja, look at how things have been kind of going downhill. We're not interested anymore. Oh, you had a blip here of a good season. Oh, that's cute, but Kamen Rider, or Ultraman. Ultraman is massively popular. So I think this, they tried to redevelop itself, and then I think Toei made a mistake with Go Zether. I think they didn't understand what to do with an anniversary season. And now we're going to get back to the Go Kaiser comment that I think Patrick will want to make. But I think Go Kaiser did the anniversary trope really well. And Zen Kaiser seems to be doing a pretty good job as well at handling an anniversary season. But I don't think they really did a good job on the Go Zether anniversary. And I also don't think they really cared at that point. Because by the time Go Zether came out, it's like, okay, we just got to do some kind of anniversary and get it out of here so we can get the next thing into here.
The point I was going to make about Go Kaiser is that I got back into PR and got into Sentai for the first time around the time Go Kaiser was airing. And it's because it was so big. Like, even people that didn't care about Tokusatsu were talking about how big of a deal Go Kaiser was. Like, it was like a phenomenon. And it's one of those things where it's like, it's so big. How can you possibly follow it up? And they haven't done anything that's even like remotely close. Especially the seasons immediately after. I know that Go Busters is considered really, really good, but the fanfare around it, like, it just didn't have the pizzazz. And then the seasons that followed Go Busters, from what I've heard, were mostly flat. So it's like Go Kaiser killed its own hype, or the show's own hype.
So let me ask this question to Nate and possibly Anthony, given they've seen more of it than we have. But have there been any seasons after Go Kaiser that you would put in the A or S tier category?
That King Oger for sure, Boom Boomer for sure.
Right.
Aside from that, I mean,
Are you talking about like immediately after, like Go Busters and all them?
Go Busters onward. What would you put in the A and S tier aside from King Ozer and Boom Boozer? Because we all agree on that.
I need to watch
Dawn Brothers.
I need to watch Go Busters again, which ironically enough we are going to be doing at some point very soon as part of the Yasuko
Go Busters in
thing. So for now I would put Go Busters in there, but that could change when we rewatch it. But yeah, and there's part of me that really wanted to put Q Ranger in that category because I don't know, I ended up liking Q Ranger a lot more than I thought I would, because it's actually not nearly as bad with like the red centric god moding that a lot of Sentai at the time were doing. So I ended up enjoying Q Ranger, but yeah, ultimately, I don't think I will put it there. So, yeah, I guess outside of the two that everybody here can agree on, Go Busters for now, but that's basically tentative.
Well, and maybe this is my memory being a bit more faulty, but I personally thought that Kyoryuger was a low A tier.
Kyoryuger.
Yeah, the Dino
Uh,
cards.
eh.
I
find
enjoyed
that
it quite a
to be
bit.
maybe
I mean,
acceptable.
it's a fun season, but it has so many things about it that bother me like crazy.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying I think my memory is a bit more faulty because I watched that the year it came out.
Yeah,
So whatever
same
that
here.
was.
Yeah.
But I mean, when it was fun, it was fun. It's just that its bad elements are just it kind of sours the season a little bit.
Hard
Yeah.
to ignore.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think I can see that. I feel like Go Pager was definitely a peak, and there were again we had those two that we agree on. But yeah, aside from that, I mean, again, I guess just for the heck of it, I'll put Go Busters on there, but I have a sneaky suspicion that that's probably not going to remain the case when we rewatch it.
I
And
mean,
just
just
go ahead.
go Riz.
No, go ahead because I'm going to pull up something on the screen.
Okay.
So,
Because I was like, let's look at like the 10 to 5 years before and after Go Kaiser, and let's see, like, Nate, you can go on that, like the quality of like the 5 to 10 before and after that season, and we can maybe see like a quality shift or something.
Yeah. Like there was like if we're talking about like the 10 years before Go Kaiser, I mean that gave us Abba Ranger, which I think is S tier. That
Yeah.
gave us
Naji.
yeah, Bokinger, which I mean, again, we're gonna have to rewatch that again, but right now I would put Bokinger in A tier. It might probably go down to a B tier if when we do the rewatching, but I would still say that it gave us Goanger, which is A or S tier, say what you will. It gave us Shinkenger, A or S tier.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, granted, yeah, we not all of the Sentais were great. I mean, we had Gal Ranger. Gal Ranger wasn't really that great. Um, I think Deco Ranger is incredibly overrated. I know 90% of the fandom will put it in S tier. I would not do that. You would
Nah, I wouldn't either.
catch me dead calling it an S tier Sentai.
Yeah.
And of course, there's the one Sentai that I'm not going to mention by name because
What
that'll
about
give Risen
Hurricane?
aneurysm.
What
But
about Hurricaneger?
Oh, I
yeah,
like Hurricane.
yeah, Hurricane was good, but I don't think I would ever put it in an A or an S tier. It's a high B tier probably.
Hmm.
It's good. It's not a super amazing Sentai.
Oh,
I
that's
actually
cool.
think it's A tier because if you I watched it all the way through. The parts toward the end, it's when it really gets like surprisingly,
Yeah,
it's super dark toward the end. Like
yeah.
Yeah.
It
So
is kind of a ninja storm. I'll tell you that though.
yeah,
So
let
there's
me
like from like Gal Ranger to Go Sager, there's probably like what 5 duds compared to
Yeah.
like the 3 good ones since
pretty much.
Go Sager.
yeah.
Yeah, see what I mean?
So let me put something on screen real quick. I think this is gonna be an interesting discussion piece for us, given where we are right now.
Mhm.
So further down that article that we were looking at earlier, they list what they call into translation notable Super Sentai. And I know we can't translate the image because whatever, but I can tell you what these each are, and you can kind of guess some of them. So it starts off with Go Ranger in 75.
Yep.
That's notable because it's the first.
Mhm.
81 brung us Sun Vulcan, which I think is notable in some way. I don't quite know how.
It's
The
because
it's
Marvel worked on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stan Lee helped work on Battle Fever and Sun Vulcan.
And then 91 obviously is our boy Zetman.
Yep.
94 is Cocker Ranger. Which
awesome.
and then after that we skipped on to 2001 to Gao Ranger, and then from there 2009 Senkenzer Gokaizer is 2011. 2014 is Tokyuzer. But then after 2014,
it jumps all the way to Go User.
right? So even they agree. Like nothing else was really notable. And if you look at the translation, which I know you can't see, but the bottom line next to that star, those are notable actors in each of the seasons. So, for example, on Gokaiser, we got Yuki Yamada. On Shinkenzer, you got Tori Matsuzaka and Mitsuki Takahata. And these are all big names. Even I have been looking into them and I know who they are.
Yeah.
Tokusatsu has Zun Sisan and Ryusei Yokohama. So they're calling out also notable actors that were in here, but there weren't notable actors and there weren't like any notable seasons that they want to highlight. I find it interesting, all things considered, while Zoo Ranger was not great, it was the catalyst for a lot of the market in terms of what Super Sentai would become in the future. But that is my nitpick on the graphic.
Yeah, and I think this is a good opportunity for me to kind of bring up my other point. Like the difference between like actors in their post Sentai career versus like the post Kamen Rider career is almost like a night and day comparison because I know how to read some basic Japanese, so I recognize some of those names. When I remember there were times early on when we were dating that I would show my wife some Super Sentai openings, and every once in a while, she would recognize someone. Like she recognized the guy who played Jiraiya from Kaku Ranger Kane Kozugi. The guy you just mentioned Yamada Yuki, the guy who plays Joe, he just recently became big. The guy who plays Takeru in Shinkenger, he's a very big actor.
Yeah.
And so on and so forth. But versus when I was showing her like all the Kamen Rider the Heisei opening, starting with Kuga, you could probably count the number of Kamen Rider seasons where she didn't recognize the main actor on one hand. Like the guy who plays Kuga, I mean, okay, he's a bit older, so his career is kind of, winding down a little bit, but he was big for a very long time. Almost every Kamen Rider season from the Heisei era, like the Dino guy, the Kabuto guy, the Kiva guy, even some of the more recent ones, like Kamen Rider Double, the guy who plays Philip, he's like probably one of the biggest actors in Japan right now. So it's just kind of interesting how Kamen Rider is so big in Japan that like you can almost say that there would be aspiring actors that would kill to be on Kamen Rider because it could be a legitimate springboard to like catapulting your career to bigger heights. Whilst with Sentai, okay, maybe there's a chance that you take off. Like maybe you could be one of the Matsuzaka Toris or Yamada Yukis, but you're probably going to have a much more likely chance of getting bigger with Kamen Rider than with Sentai.
Oh,
More
and
eyes, and also because you're basically running a solo show, you kind of need to be a little bit better because you don't have many people to bounce off of.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Also, the reason Cock Ranger's on that list, I think, is because you mentioned Zariah. I think his name is Kane Kasugi, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
Ken Kozugi.
Yeah, so they list him because of Kane Kasugi.
Yeah, he's kind of more of a comedic actor because he
Yeah.
actually does legitimately have trouble speaking Japanese, so they kind of make jokes about him with that.
Oh, trust me, I
So
can tell.
yeah. Yeah, all that stuff where he's like speaking broken Japanese. Yeah, for everybody who's watched Kamen Ranger, that's not him acting. That's literally
Yeah.
how he
yeah.
speaks Japanese.
Yeah.
Um, but do we want to add anything else on our thoughts on Sentai before we move on to the future?
I mean, I gave most of my thoughts on the Blog Ranger post, and I think, I think my thoughts are genuinely echo. But like I said, I mean, I don't think Sentai is just going to go away forever. I think that I think that they'll still do some anniversary movies, and who knows? I mean, because the thing to note in all of this mess is that Toei still hasn't said anything. Now, I think now it's more than likely that we're not going to get anything Sentai related next year, but it's entirely possible that Toei is preparing to do something else with the franchise
Yeah.
down the line. We'll just have to wait and see. But for
I have
everybody who's just feeling depressed about that, don't worry. I don't think Sentai is going to just up and go away and vanish into the void. That's
I
just
have
not going to happen.
I have thoughts on that, but I'm gonna hold off until we get to the end of the podcast.
I think that because it's TV Asahi that said that
Yeah.
it would be over, which makes me think that if we're going to get a new proper season, it's not going to be for a long time. So yeah, like anniversary movies, I think, are still on the docket. Out of the big three Toku shows, Go Ranger's the only one that hasn't gotten a Shin movie, because there's been a Shin Ultraman and a Shin Kamen Rider, and I think they've done like 2 or 3 Shin. Give us a Shin Go Ranger, because why not? Go Ranger's got a pretty dark theme to it already, so just give us an updated Go Ranger. I don't think anybody would complain about that. But yeah, I don't know, but we'll see. Because Toei hasn't said that it's over. It's the studio, the channel. So I don't know. I don't know what all that means.
We'll just wait and see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but looking forward to the future. Let's move the screen back up. All right, so Toei has announced that there is going to be something taking over the time slot on TV Asahi, and they're calling it Project R.E.D. And so this on screen is a screen grab of the official X, formerly known as Twitter. And this is basically them announcing a brand new Tokusatsu starting in 2026, Project R.E.D launches. Super Sentai within the framework of the series, a new Tokusatsu hero series, Project R.E.D launches. A new Tokusatsu video series featuring the Red Hero in action. The first installment is Space Sherrif Gavan Infinity, inheriting the innovative spirit of Space Sherrif Gavan while building a brand new Gavan from the ground up. Broadcast starts at 2026 at the same time slot that Sentai used to be at. So this is what's going to replace Sentai on the TV Asahi time slot. And shifting over to another screenshot just to give more credence to that, even though it's the official Toei Twitter, this is the official trademark registration in Japan for Project R.E.D. So it's Project R.E.D, Records of Extraordinary Dimensions Project R.E.D. So that's the official name for what we're going to get going forward. And to kind of give more of an update here, here's the Super Space Sherrif Gavan Infinity trademark. So the reason I wanted to highlight the trademarks is just to show that we do have trademarks, we do have something coming in. And to kind of break it down a little bit, let me pull up the cool photo here. Hang on. This is going to be Project R.E.D, at least a poster for it. We don't know a whole lot about it right now, but from what the Twitter announcement said, to me, it looks like they want to move into reviving the Metal Heroes.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at the wording in the tweet, it does say within the framework of the series. So in the framework of Super Sentai. And that's been on my mind for a while now, because maybe Sentai going forward might be some kind of thing where they pull elements of Sentai into the Space Sherrif TV show. Like maybe they have a team of Space Sherrifs rather than just one Gavan. That's one possibility for it.
That's just B-Fighter.
Yeah.
do that again.
But I mean, okay, but it's not a bad thing, right? Like it's still something, and it could be something more interesting. And just to kind of go through the rest of the coverage that we do have available from the official TV Asahi website, they got this cool photo of the Project R.E.D promo, and they give the same details on the broadcast, and then they have this thing down here talking about what this looks like. And so Project R.E.D start the first memorable work. A new story of heroes begins. 2026, a new legend opens the curtain. New Tokusatsu video series Project R.E.D starts. A new Tokusatsu series that has been loved for a long time, from 1975 for 50 years. Record of Extraordinary Dimensions. As the name suggests, it is a new special effects series where red heroes are active. In this series, we plan to develop multifaceted developments such as crossing over various works that will broadcast in the future to give depth to each world view. That sentence alone tells me that Sentai is
Mhm.
not over, that nothing is over. We're just redoing how we present our heroes going forward. And then 50 years of history is an even higher level. In 2026, you will be witness to a new legend. The memorable first work is Super Space Detective Gavan Infinity, which is based off of Space Detective Gavan from 1982 to 1983, which many people who saw this title and felt nostalgia is a super popular work that depicts the activities of heroes who fight against space crime organizations to protect Earth. In the 80s, it is a legendary work that made not only Japanese but also overseas fans enthusiastic with vivid impressions given by a hero in a metallic suit. While inheriting its innovations, such as one-of-a-kind hero visuals and science fiction elements set in the universe, the new Super Space Detective Gavan Infinity is completely different. It is a completely new Gavin built from scratch by the latest video expression and directing method. The future predictions that people had in the 1980s, such as AI, space exploration, and space projects, are now a reality. That's a truthful statement given where I work. But
Mhm.
with the development of technology remarkable, video expression that can be done only now, and story construction that resonates in real life, a new Gavin will be born. And this next part is where I find the most interest, I think. In addition, Project R.E.D, the theme of the Red Hero, is the first in the series that is the center. So, of course, the hero of the main character, Gavan Infinity, is also a metabolic red combat suit. The ban was lifted this time, the coolest hero visual with a metallic body glowing red. Expectations are high for the overall picture that will be published in the future. Depicts the activities of a stylized red hero with the latest technology. We will announce the characters and stories you're interested in later, so please wait for further information. That last sentence and the piece earlier about the multi-universal thing makes me think Sentai is not really going away. We just don't know what it'll look like next year.
Mhm.
So I personally think, and this might be me being hopeful, but maybe they're gonna have a team of red warriors form a new like team, and it'll be like pulling from history. Like we got Gavin, maybe we got like Aka Ranger, we got I don't know Kamen Rider Black RX or somebody, but they're all thematically seems to be red now.
That'd be interesting.
So there's a lot of possibilities here. There's a lot of things that we don't really know, and so while there's a lot of like doomsaying in the Tokusatsu fandom about, oh, we're gonna boycott Project R.E.D, we don't care, screw Gavin. I honestly think this is a really cool thing.
So here's the thing. I'm open to this. Like I'm definitely gonna give it a watch. I'm not just gonna completely discard it. But the reason why I'm skeptical is that you're making it a you're specifically identifying it as a Gabon thing. And okay, now let me just make one thing clear. If you're doing a revival of the Metal Hero series, I'm down for that, honestly. Because I mean, I'm because I think the Sentai thing is kind of wearing thin. I'm kind of there's a bit of fatigue there, and I always really enjoyed the designs of Metal Hero suits. I think some of those are some of the most badass Tokusatsu hero designs that we've ever seen. Like, I mean, it if there's a ton of like Metal Hero suits that I would love to cosplay in. So I'm definitely down for that. The thing is though is that Gabon is Leon's an iconic character with this design, like the silver suit. I mean, like the Captain Shaku thing that we saw in Beast Morphers. Like that,
Mhm.
I feel like that's an iconic suit, and that is Gavon. So if you're gonna make this brand new character in the Gavin name, and it's based off of like what this red suit is here, where a lot of people have been saying it kind of looks like Iron Man. I don't know. Like, I feel like you're adding the Gabon name to it to try to get attention to it, but it might not necessarily. But some people might be turned off because it's definitively not Gabon. I mean, maybe people would be a bit more open to it if you called him Charivan, because Charivan suit the second Uchu Cage, he was red.
Yeah.
But calling it Gavan, that's where I'm getting a little skeptical of it.
Well, I mean, the thing is, it's just a suit color to me. I think the idea here that's more important is they're trying to build a universe with Project R.E.D. and going through extraordinary dimensions like the Gavan dimension, a Sentai dimension in the future, possibly Kamen Rider. There's possibilities here for something on a more of a Marvel scale, which, we've had some Marvel scale type things in the past, like Legendary War and Gokaiser, and some of the King Ozer ending was a very endgame like. But I think having a thing where you're pulling together multiple series, because remember, it's just one season they're announcing for Gavan, but then maybe they'll have something else in the works that'll supplement it, and they'll just build up something new. So I think I get it that it's an iconic suit. I love the Gavan suit as well.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't just write it off because it's not the silver suit.
Well, yeah, but the reason why I would still be open to this, and a big part of it is because I would just love to see an Uchu K series done in the modern times, because I I watched a good chunk of a Shider the Third Uchu Cage series, and I really liked it, but at the same time, it's Showa era tokusatsu, so weekly filler episodes where you have like the monster of the day and some character of the day, very little character development and all of that. It's typical Showa era tokusatsu, and there's not really much that you can do about it. We would love to see a Space Sheriff series done in the modern day of tokusatsu, where we've kind of discovered now you can make your villains more three-dimensional. You can have ongoing plots that develop your characters, like very basic stuff. And I would love to see the Uchu Cage series done in that type of format, because the closest thing that we got were those anniversary movies where we had like successors doing it, where you had this new guy Geki become Gavan, and then they had two other characters. I can't remember their names off the top of my head, but you had a new Sherrif who was played by the same guy that played Go in Geki Ranger, and you had the new a new Shiner who was played by the same guy that played Akira, the first Kamen Rider Birth and O's. And those were very decent movies, but they're movies. I would have loved to see Metal Heroes be brought back and done in like a straight up like full series and see what they could do with that format. Because I feel like the Uchu Cage stories do have a lot of potential. And that is why, honestly, if Sentai is going to go away for a little bit, but you're telling me that in its place, I get a Metal Hero series, and more specifically, an Uchu Cage series done in the modern times, that is something, if you do it right, and I have absolute faith that you can, but if you do it right, we will consider that to be a decent compensation for us losing Sentai for a while. Yeah, okay, I'm sorry that I just ranted for just a little bit. That's just
No, that's
I wanted to say that.
I want to
So-
see if Patrick or Anthony are going to say anything before I come back with something else.
Yeah, so my thoughts on this, and I kind of want to pivot off of something Nate said earlier, talking about thinking it's kind of, I don't know if what your point was, that you thought it was stupid that they were just kind of like red coating the Gavin costume or something. With Gavin's name being in the title, and them acknowledging some kind of like dimension hopping or universe hopping with other Red Warriors, it feels like Toei, even though they're doing this, it feels like they're not certain that it's going to work. So they're having something that doesn't have its own 2 feet to stand on. I don't know how reassuring that is. It almost feels like they're not confident in it.
Well, I think, in my opinion, I think Toei is right to have some hesitation right now. Because
I mean, the whole point of them canning Sentai is that it doesn't feel fresh anymore. So what do? Something that uses stuff we've seen before.
Yeah.
Get ballsy with it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work regardless. So just get daring with it. I feel
And I
like this
think
is too safe.
I don't know
Yeah.
if I would call it safe though.
Well,
What makes you think it's safe?
I mean, if they're using Gavin's name, they're implying that we might see Sentai Rangers from previous seasons. It feels like that they're going to use stuff that we're already familiar with as a crutch to bring people in instead of letting it be something that can stand on its own 2 feet.
Yeah,
That's what
and
I'm saying.
I get that, but I think the point here isn't to make something new, but it's to recontextualize their properties into something that might be more connected, or maybe something just recontextualized in a different way now. Because I think they've recognized the Sentai formula is not working as well as it could be. I think they've recognized that they could bring back the Metal Heroes, but there is that void that they want to fill with Sentai being gone. Because I mean, Kamen Rider does not really have that Sentai feel to it. But if they build something like this, where they're just taking the heroes from out of time and space into whatever this is going to be in this new extraordinary dimension or whatever, I don't know. It could be something worthwhile, and I think it could be something unique and ballsy. We don't know enough about it yet,
Yeah,
and
but
I think you guys are jumping to conclusions based off of the initial feedback that we're seeing here.
yeah, but
And I get why, but I also think there needs to be more open-mindedness
I mean,
from all of us.
I'm still gonna go into it giving it its fair chance, but at the same
Yeah.
time, its description doesn't bode confidence.
Yeah.
The press release seems very because they brought up the whole like talking about the history and the dimension hopping and it seems like they're promoting that more than they're promoting the actual new warrior that we're going to be getting
But
introduced to.
see, that's the point. They're not talking about Gavin in this thing specifically. This is an article on Project R.E.D, not on Gavin, really. So the idea here is let's promote Project R.E.D, which, hey, it'll begin with Gavin Infinity.
All right.
So
I mean,
I think
I'll see how this plays out before I really dig
Yeah.
into it if need be. But
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like I said, I'm probably I would say ultimately, despite what I said about the Gavan thing, that you could probably call myself maybe 60 to 70% optimistic because ultimately the intrigue that I have and just the excitement of possibly getting an Uchu Cage series in a more modern tokusatsu sense, that ultimately kind of overrides my skepticism over giving Gavan ultimately a new suit. So yeah, I can say ultimately I'm like probably 70 to 80% optimistic that this could work out, but then there's going to be like a little bit of skepticism.
well, I think the skepticism is healthy here because it is a brand new property. It is something that we haven't gotten too much info on yet. Toei has not come out and said anything really about what does it really want to do as a whole. They've given us nuggets of info. So I think skepticism is healthy here, but I'm just trying to caution against too much skepticism and too much negativity towards the new thing because I've seen countless people online just bashing it already because they don't want to accept that, hey, we got this, new thing that's taken away Sentai.
Yeah, pretty much.
And that's the problem is that, we all love Sentai so much, and so many fans out there are not going to give this a fair chance because they're mad about Sentai going away. And I think that's going to really hurt something that could be potentially really good.
Yeah,
they
well,
also they also
go
need
ahead,
to
Patrick.
stick the landing with this
Yes.
first installment because if it isn't good, then the pulling the carpet out from under Super Sentai is going to be real bad publicity for Toei.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah.
If they don't stick to landing with this first installment, all bets are off. Like they made a huge mistake. They could have kept Sentai and redid it because they did good with King Ozer and Boom Boonzer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's.
And then at that point, they'd probably try to bring Sentai back earlier than they like. If they do intend to bring Sentai back, they might feel some incentive to bring it back even earlier.
Which, again, it's all part of this experimental phase. We're going to say, okay, let's try it out. Gavan first. If Gavan fails, maybe Sentai comes back. Maybe we get like an Aqua Ranger or something. And, I think there's possibilities here for a lot of things to happen.
Yep.
I also think, sorry, Nate, I just want to get this out here as well.
Go ahead.
I also think we'll get the better detail on this and how it's all going to fit together when Gozizer ends. When we get the final scene, 2 things will happen. One, the finale might give us some hints on what Project R.E.D will be. That's one possibility. But second, the traditional Sentai handover, the passing of the torch, will it be Gozizer Wolf passing the torch to Gavan here? So I think that would be something that I would want to understand and see more of and how they're going to handle that, because that would help contextualize the fate of Sentai, which Toei has not really said anything about. Because originally when this was all coming out, my original set of research I had done had been more on what could Toei do if they left TV Asahi, and the answer was they couldn't do what they're doing with Zets right now with YouTube global release because of the Hasbro Saban clause. They can't air globally a Super Sentai given the rights and all that. So they'd be a little bit limited in terms of what they could do. And I mean, their contract's a little bit vague from what I've read. Some contracts say that they could air the next season on YouTube with no problem. Others say no, it's a blanket. You can't have any Super Sentai globally released. It has to be only in these X number of countries. So there's a lot of uncertainty here, but I think when we see the end of Gozizer, we'll have a better understanding of how things are going to go. If they just end it and there's no passing of the torch, there's no reference to a dimensional hopping thing, then we know that they don't plan to have Sentai really heavily integrated in the beginning of Project R.E.D. But if they have a passing of the torch, and if they have like some reference to Project R.E.D in the epilogue or something, then maybe we can say, okay, this is all part of some greater universal sift, and Super Sentai is still around, but it's under the Project R.E.D umbrella now.
Well, here's something that you were mentioning about the Sentai clause. I don't know if you saw this on Twitter, but someone mentioned that Sentai's not actually mentioned by name in that distribution agreement.
Correct. And the reason for that is certain contracts I've read, they say that Saban and then Disney and then Hasbro have the original contract only stipulated Zero Ranger, and then they did an extension to get O Ranger, did Car Ranger, etc. But it's a season by season thing. So some opinions are that they could have Tokusatsu go like globally, that they could have Zero go globally because they didn't use anything from that really. But they couldn't maybe go with like O Ranger globally because that's definitely covered by Saban, Hasbro, whatever. So it's all about what contract is in effect today. The contracts that I read are all back from like the 90s.
Yeah. Yep. And that's another reason why I think they're doing this, is because there was a thing that came out, was it a month or two ago now, where Toei did a press release stating that they wanted all of their IPs to go more global.
Yeah.
And then immediately after that, Zets became the first Kamen Rider season to get basically an official sub but Sentai was always kind of in that gray area. Well, what better way to remove that gray area than by replacing it?
Yeah, they have to replace it to go global.
Yeah. So that in the question becomes, if Sentai ever does come back, will they be able to market it outside of Japan like they're doing everything else? So I don't know.
I think they can market, like, let's say they have some kind of magical Sentai Ninja Squadron or whatever. Like, that's the next season that they have for Sentai.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They can maybe market it as that full title, but maybe not as Super Sentai.
Mm-hmm.
That could be how I read that. And so that could be possible because there were rumors originally like, hey, the next Sentai will be some kind of mix of a school and ninjas, and you're gonna have like magical school ninjas or something, which would be really cool. I think that'd be an awesome kind of
Mhm.
call back to like Ninja Storm and how they did stuff a little bit.
Yeah.
But Anthony, you've been pretty quiet.
I wouldn't say I'm skeptical. I'm just, like I said, I'm the most unfamiliar with the whole Metal Heroes thing. I mean, I have watched maybe like a tiny portion of stuff from Gabon, and I watched maybe like I think one episode of what was okay. It was the one that was based off of VR Troopers. I think I watched one episode of that. It's not Metal Alder, but I think it was the one with the two that can transform.
That would be Spielban.
Yeah,
Wait, is it the one where JB got his form from?
yeah,
Yeah, that's Spielban.
Pokemon, yeah. So I'm not too familiar with the Metal Heroes as much as like some other people are. I wouldn't count Beetleborgs and all that because that was all made in America. I'm talking about like Japanese, made Metal Heroes. That's what I meant to say.
The thing that does make me a little bit intrigued, because Riz, you were talking about at one point like them trying to like MCU some stuff. That would totally be in line with what Metal Heroes did, because with the three Uchu Cage series, they had the original Gavan guy be like a recurring mentor character who would sometimes transform with Charivan during the original Charivan series, and then the final episode of Shider, the last Uchu Cage series, was about Gavan, Charivan, and Shider all coming together. So that was one thing. And I do know that Juco B Fighters had a bunch of crossovers. Like there was a big three-parter where the B Fighters of the past kind of teamed up with the B Fighters of the present. So you basically had like the three heroes who were the Beetleborgs Metallics teaming up with the originals, but then they also did a team up with like a bunch of other metal heroes, including one that they ironically did actually adapt into a Beetleborgs episode. They had a crossover with this metal hero series called Jan Person, and they actually wrote it so that Jan Person was this other character that from a different comic book line that Flabber brought to life to help the Beetleborgs a little bit. That was pretty cool. So, like in series crossovers is all the rage in Metal Hero series. So I could totally see them trying to do like some MCU style stuff with that. And if they did that, that would actually be pretty cool. And that would have me hooked on this type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm hoping they end up doing. I'm hoping that they lean into the crossover aspect of the multi-universal thing and say, hey, here's a Sentai universe, here's a Gavan universe, or a Metal Hero universe, or whatever you want to call it. Here's a Rider universe, and you just like have some kind of ultimate Thanos type threat or something. I think that'd be interesting to see how they pulled it off.
Yep.
Just don't make the mistakes that the MCU is making today, and you'll be fine.
That's pretty good advice.
Because the current MCU has not really had my respect for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, if you give me a very good Uchu Cage series in the modern context, and you'll have my attention, and in a very positive way, I should add.
Yeah, definitely. So, I don't know. I think those are all the big things. I do want to take a moment to also address other things that are out there in the internet. So, one thing I've been seeing a lot of, and I'm guilty of also kind of propagating the rumor because I thought it was more official than it was. Um, Toei has not, and I repeat, not trademarked anything called Universe Heroes. Because a lot of people online have been saying, "Oh, well, Super Sentai is going to get rebranded and become Universe Heroes going forward because they want to avoid the Hasbro Saban clause." That is not based on anything factual. There's no trademark, there's no press release, there's no statement from Toei, TV Asahi, or anyone official in Japan about this. This is all a propagated rumor, which I believe comes from the simple fact that we have Universe Heroes in Gozuzer today. And they're trying to say that, oh, well, they're going to just carry the idea on for next season, but there's no proof. So I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but Universe Heroes is not real. At least not
Yeah,
right
well,
now.
I know a lot of YouTubers have been bringing that up. I'm just like,
Yeah.
it's not
And
true.
it's frustrating to me that they continue to propagate this lie and they're not doing their research to really know, like, okay, there's no trademark, there's no proof, there's nothing out there. Everything I present in this podcast has been based either on an official press release from Toei or from a trademark listing, or in the case of the Kyoto news article, that's a reputable news source in Japan where they have stated that we've talked to insider people and they've given names of people that they talked to. So there's credence there that, okay, this is a real news article. But much like with the Maya Imori story, we can't rely on the hearsay and the tabloids and all that stuff. There is some nuggets of truth in the tabloids every now and then. Like, for example, there was a tabloid article from I forget the name right now, but like they mentioned that we're gonna have a Tokusatsu detective so come and replace Sentai next. Let me see, it's called Weekly Josei Prime. That's a tabloid.
Yeah.
And they're kind of right because Gavin is a bit like a Tokusatsu detective so in a way. So they're not completely wrong, but they're also not giving the factual background. They're not giving like all of the source citing and saying like, oh, here's how we know this. There's no proof to it. It's just them stating stuff, and then people run with it because they like the tabloid angle.
Yeah. Pretty much.
So I would urge y'all to be careful out there when you're looking at this stuff and just be more mindful of what is real and what is fake and what is just like these silly rumors that our fandom has propagated because they want to have like the clicks on their own videos or whatever.
Yep.
Don't fall for the genjutsu now.
Yeah. But with that, I do want to open up for last closing thoughts, and then we can wrap it up.
I think I've made my point clear that I'm very open to this. I'm definitely intrigued, and and I am looking forward to us kind of getting our feet wet with Metal Heroes over these next couple of months because we were already kind of planning to do some Metal Heroes in wake of some Sentai fatigue anyway. So yeah, now we're kind of in a point where we kind of have to dip our feet into Metal Heroes now. So I'm looking forward to it. And I'm firm in my belief that I don't think Sentai is going away completely, and I'm still looking forward to the future. So yeah, Project R.E.D. Definitely looking forward to what you're doing here. Just don't just try your best, but don't try to force anything. And yeah, I mean, hopefully, this will all work out for the future. But I am intrigued by these future prospects.
Well, look at it, and there's a positive out of this for you, Nate, too. Once you finish the last 3 seasons, you don't have to worry about watching anything else.
Yes,
Right.
yeah.
There's a silver lining after all.
You'd be fully caught up.
Yep. That's probably a good time for me to announce this too. Once Go Juju ends, and I have literally seen every Sentai on Sentai Blog Ranger, I'm going to be spending the next 2 months after that doing like posts where I rank every Sentai from best to worst, and I'll be able to do the tier ranking on every Sentai without having to worry about what's currently airing. So yeah, that'll be very fun. At least this Sentai ending does give me a lot of room for some more content, both on this podcast and on my personal blog.
Yeah.
Then it'll time to do it for Kamen Rider.
Yep.
You know, the funny part is, while we were at the Orlando show, Nate and I met a guy who has their own YouTube channel, and they've actually seen every single Sentai out there, and they've already put reviews up for every single Sentai out there. And I was like, hey, look, Nate, this is you in the future.
Yeah, except that guy. I mean, I think his content's pretty good. I'm not going to name him, but he did give a negative review of Go Onger, so that's where I'm like, oh, okay, we're not going to agree on that, buddy.
We're gonna have a talk about that next year.
Yeah, totally.
Hey, get over here. We have to talk about this.
Hey.
Go on, your opinion, yours.
Hey, you, Sosuke, he's amazing. He is amazing. Some might even say that he is.
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's there, me! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
That's my personal opinion. I know y'all don't consider him the GOAT, but I think Sosuke is really awesome.
I think he's one of the goats. That's good. That's a good opinion to have.
Yeah. But Anthony, Patrick, do you want to add anything?
I wouldn't necessarily say that this is a goodbye to Sentai. It's more like a see you later type thing.
It is. Yeah, 100% in my opinion too.
I find that there's some irony in this, and it's kind of reassuring that Sentai will come back, because Kamen Rider went away for about a decade, and what replaced it? Metal Heroes. Sentai's going away with Metal Heroes.
The pattern.
Well, we'll see Sentai again, and when it does come back, I expect it to flourish again, because when Kamen Rider came back, what was the first season that was it?
Kuga.
Kuga. Yeah, I remember when Kamen Rider came back, like it took off. So, like we were saying, this sucks because Sentai's kind of been like a staple of the genre forever. But this seems like it'll be a good thing for the series.
It will. I think, to me, I think this is just the natural evolution of what Toei needs to do to continue their business of making tokusatsu for us. Because right now, like Nate alluded to earlier, both Nates actually, Nate Marchand and Nate Dasa, that Ultraman is reigning supreme in Japan today. And that's not a Toei property. So if Toei wants to remain in the tokusatsu game with stuff like Ultraman reigning supreme, they have to try something like this to get back into the game.
Yep.
So my closing thoughts are, I think, one, don't just listen to any old Reddit post or YouTuber that says, oh, confirmed rumors, but they don't cite a source. Don't believe that stuff.
I love the phrase confirmed rumor, because that's like contradictory.
Yeah, but people
if it's confirmed, it's not a rumor anymore.
Exactly. So I don't think you can give credence to stuff like that and really consider it a worthy thing going forward. I also want to say that I personally, I have a little bit of skepticism about this. But unlike Nate, my skepticism's a lot lower. I don't have it at like a 30, 40 percentile. Mine's more like a 10%, because I think Toei is trying to breathe new life in, and I think if they can stick the landing, this will be the right way forward for them. I don't think Sentai can continue the way they are right now.
No, they can't.
Because the premise to me is getting redundant and boring. Like, okay, so episode begins. They got something going on. Here's the monster of the week. Oh no, they have a problem. Let's solve the problem. Okay, time to fight the monster of the week. Okay, kill the monster of the week. Oh no, he grew. Call in the Megazord, guys. And end. Like, that to me is a formula that does not really sustain well over time. And, I don't know how the other Kamen Riders are, because I honestly have not seen too many of them. But based on how Zets is doing today, where, it's a bit of a same formula thing, like, okay, here's a new dream, let's go figure out who is the nightmare and all this stuff. But it's at least more engaging. It's at least a little bit more less formulaic and more like a mystery. And I think that's a really cool thing that they're like saying, like, okay, let's redo the genre a little bit here. So to me, I think this is a fresh breath of air. It'll probably end up, if it works, it'll probably be the thing to help it catapult back into relevance in Japan. And I have hope. I have a lot of hope here. I hope I'm not wrong, but we'll see.
Yep.
With that said, just want to give some end of the year announcements to kind of reiterate stuff that Nate's been saying in our past couple of podcasts, just to remind people. Next time you see us, we'll be reviewing our fan productions. We got Beast Hunters, we got Dragonheart from the Megaspore story. We got some Godzilla news of Maya and Memory coming out soon that we're going to be talking about. We got a Ranger Stop Orlando debrief, and we got, of course, the return to Majin Ranger at some point. So we got a lot of stuff coming out this year, and then of course next year we'll be shifting gears into Metal Heroes and Kamen Rider and just exploring other parts of Tokusatsu to really earn our name of Toku Secrets, I think. And so I hope you guys will stay tuned for all of that, because we have a lot of really cool stuff planned for next year. 2026 will be a fun year, I think, for the podcast with all the new stuff coming out, especially with Project R.E.D and then possibly this Disney reboot and other stuff going on. So I'm excited, y'all. I really am excited for next year.
Yeah, me too.
But with that said, we're the Toku Secrets podcast. We hope you all do well, and bye for now.
If you enjoyed listening to the Toku Secrets podcast, please check us out at animesecrets.org and follow us on all our social media pages such as Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And also feel free to check out our other podcasts, including Anime Declassified and the Jedi Squadron. You can also leave us any feedback you'd like to offer us directly on our website. If you're listening to this on Spotify or iTunes, we thank you so much, and please leave us a rating out of 5 stars. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel if you're not already subscribed, and leave any comments down below, as we love to take the time to read comments left on our channel and give our fans, shout-outs. If you have any seasons of Super Sentai, Power Rangers, or other Tokusatsu shows that you'd like for us to check out, please don't hesitate to say so in your feedback. With all that said, we thank you so much for taking the time to listen to our podcast, and we will see you next time as we continue our never-ending journey through the world of Tokusatsu. But until that time, you all stay safe, we love you, and may the power protect you.